So before starting, we'll do a pre-scene overview. Today, I would request Nirvana, can you give an overview of pre-scene? In 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes.
Okay, sure, I can do it. I just get my notes.
You can look into the pre-scene and talk. That's also completely fine. Take 30 minutes,
right.
30 seconds, 1 minute to organize your thoughts.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes. What about others?
Yeah, she's audible.
Okay.
Yeah, she's audible.
Okay, so we'll start off with Roundland being a listed company in a well-developed country, and the advantages of that we know is being a listed company, you have better access to finance, different types of finance. You have the disadvantages is that there's additional scrutiny on your finances, and there's more regulation to follow. There's other advantages of being in Roundland. One of them is there's good infrastructure, internet, and the disadvantages of being in Roundland would be the market is saturated. That means there's a little market share to be achieved, even though we have about 10% growth in revenue. It's still growing, but we are very much dependent on the economy for growth. We have two major clients, two key clients. That's Melter Motors and Murdoch Supermarket. Melter Motors is huge. They're a global company. They operate in about 31 countries. We can assume that they are listed as well. Because they're a global company, they will look at things such as sustainability. Any reputational issues we have will also affect them. Then there's Murdoch Supermarket, which is it's not international, so it's based in Roundland. Another key player of us, so our revenue would be affected by anything that affects them. We also need to remember that being in the logistics industry, we are dependent on other industries for our revenue. So we're very sensitive to changes in the economy. The type of services that we do, we have, even though there's two types of 3PL, there's dedicated and shared, we focus mostly on shared 3PL. So that means we can have different of our customers' products in the same vehicle, in the same warehouse. And there's advantages to that. There's lots of cost-saving advantages to that. We also do have a slight focus service that we offer for oversized loads. Then going on to our assets, we have a lot of assets. We have, I won't go through all of them, but they go from warehouses to rail locomotive, the ports, the two ports, and a lot of vehicles. So we're quite asset intensive. Then we can go on to Roundland itself. The logistics industry in Roundland is approximately 226 billion. And out of that, 58% is for transport. The next big chunk of that industry is inventory handling with 23%, then warehouse costs at 11 and admin at 8%. And breaking down transport even further, out of that 58%, out of the 226 billion, road is the biggest piece of that pie with 76% of the revenue. And that's approximately 100 billion. Then the next chunk is rail with, actually, that's not true. The next chunk is sea with 13%. Then we have air with 6% and rail with 5%. Okay. Then moving on to the services that we offer. There's approximately 6 services that we do, and they go from shared user storage to outsourced warehouse management, rail transport, specialized loads, shared usage transport, and inventory management. We have 22,000 employees, so we do carry some weight with the government. And out of those, 7,000 employees are drivers. An important point to remember is drivers are a skilled and scarce resource. At the moment, it would be in Roundland and it would be generally in industry. Okay, we have an IT system that's quite integrated with our clients, and there are some advantages to that. Some of the advantages is that we can do real-time, we can do inventory tracking, and having such an integrated IT system is also a barrier to entry. So clients are not likely to change because it would involve a lot of system issues. There's also disadvantages to that in that it exposes us to a bit of cyber risk. So that's an overview of Daistruk, the key
Good job.
areas.
Thank you, Nirvana. I have a small request to all of you. Just write an overview. Now we are discussing, but just write it down in 4 to 5 pages. Whatever you remember, okay, whatever you understand. Whatever we are discussing, same thing you just put into words. That will be better for you to revise.
Maspa, I actually do have a query.
Yeah, please.
Actually, I have 2 queries. The one is that we don't pick up products from suppliers for the warehouse. Those products get delivered to the warehouse. Is that correct?
We pick, right? Why we don't pick from the suppliers?
From what I've read in the pre-scene, it didn't seem to me as though we pick up goods from our suppliers. Wherever I've read, it was
I mean,
gets
it depends.
delivered to the warehouse.
Firstly, we don't have our own suppliers, right? We are just the logistic companies. So it depends the type of business we are dealing. Sometimes it will be from their warehouse to our warehouse, the supplier's warehouse, or sometimes it can be from factory as well.
Right. Okay. So do we pick up the goods that go into our warehouse, or is it delivered to us?
I think we do. We pick up, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we have inbound. Yes, we have inbound logistics and outbound, both of these. So inbound means that we pick up the things from our clients and the customers. And in the 3PL, mostly we pick up the things from the goods from our clients, and we process this through our systems, and then it's IT systems, and we deliver it to the client side. So basically, 3PL and the 4PL, this is the concept that we pick up the things. We have our inventory systems, we manage these, and we then deliver to the client's internet places.
Okay. The confusion was because I read that inbound logistics is to receive and to check goods. So I needed clarification. So all the reading that I've done, it said inbound is receive and check or store goods and update the inventory records. Therefore, I wanted clarity.
Yeah, we do pick up.
Okay. The second query I have was, do we do cloud services for our IT? We have a, what do you call it? An IT database? Not a database. We have one of our board of directors worked at the, let me just check my notes. Data center. So Henrik was a senior manager at the data center. So we have a data center. Does that mean we don't do, so our data is not stored on the cloud?
That thing they have not given clearly actually. I just go to the pre-scene. Can you see the pre-scene?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. You worked in software development with major IT companies before joining Daistruk as a senior managers in the company's data center. Before joining, he used to work in that previous company's data center. They are not talking about our data center.
Oh, I see. Right.
He worked in software development with major IT companies in their data center, not with us.
Right, right, right. Okay, so it doesn't say whether our information systems are on the cloud then explicitly.
Right. Anything else?
Well, the last question I had was, we know we're largely dependent on the economy for business, but it wasn't stated on our principal risk document. That was it. It was just a point I picked up, but it wasn't a query.
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Okay. We know that we are largely dependent on the economy, but that risk is not noted on our principal risk document.
Right. So principal risk, they have just given basics. They don't consider a lot of risk. Yeah, that can be a weakness, right? But usually they don't have most of the risk in the principal risk.
Okay, thanks. That's it for me.
All right. Let's go to even. Then we stop. So types of strategy we finished. Organizational ecosystem also we discussed SWOT and everything. Organization as well. I think digital strategy also we did, right? AI and all we finished last time before closing the chapter. Okay. Excuse me. Now the next one is the impact of ecosystem on organizational strategy. So basically in this chapter they are saying how external environment can affect the strategy making. For example, in the first chapter, we have discussed market-led approach. So this is just the extension of that. Sometime market-led approach we are selecting on our own, or sometime it is forced to us. Forced to us as in maybe there is a disruption in the market. Everybody has moved to some better technology, or something better have been come up with some of the companies. Okay. Strategic network, a group of interconnected members that work collectively to achieve long-term strategic advantage. A strategic platform enables providers and consumers to transfer good and service. So they are talking more about the cloud. Anyways. And some of the disruptions example they have given, how some certain companies have been at the top of the world, but still they don't have much, or at least no assets, we can say. Like Airbnb, no hotels or rooms; Uber, no taxis; Amazon, no physical stores, even not on their own products also. But if you see, for us, even platform is important. Like all these three companies have platform. But for Daistruk, we need platform also, and we need assets also. However, there may be some logistic company who are dealing without a lot of assets. They just have a platform. But that can be very risky. Even when company grows and become listed company, dependent on other things can be a problem. 4 types of business models are there. Asset builder like Ford, we have physical goods. Service builder like Accenture, mostly depending on the people. Technology creator like Microsoft, again through ideas. Network orchestrator, or we can say platform like eBay. So if you see for Daistruk, we are asset builder also, we have assets, we have service provider also, and we have network orchestrator also. These 3 things we have in our business model. Usually network orchestration need to be very much on technology, like create digital capabilities, invest in digital assets, actively allocate your capital, lead through co-creation, invite your customers to co-create, basically give them some opportunity to tailor them the needs and the products. Focus on subscription, not transaction. They give some other value. For example, Amazon now has launched Amazon Prime also, where you can watch movies and all. So just adding value to the subscription model. Freelancers can be hired, integrate big data, choose leaders who represent your customers. So basically, a lot of companies are choosing young leaders also now. Open your mind to new possibilities. These are some of the characteristics orchestration business should have. Not necessarily that Daistruk also should follow all of this, but some of this can be an advantage. Technology enablers in ecosystem. Cloud computing is one of the things. Social media, mobile technology, data analytics. These have all added to the technology enabler in the ecosystems. Upstream and downstream supply chain we have already kind of discussed in the pre-scene analysis. So usually companies who are manufacturing themselves, if they use technology for them, upstream supply chain management, that is like raw materials, manufacturer, and ultimately to the sellers or retailers, this will be done in a better way through understanding the entire supply chain. I'll not go into this. What is upstream supply chain? They are talking about e-sourcing, e-purchasing, e-payment. Same thing goes with the downstream supply chain. Advantages we can have a look. Important to manage relationship with customer. Unhappy ones walk, they don't complain. So what is the churn rate? Churn rate is like number of customers or percentage of customers we are losing every year. Then existing customers are more profitable than the new ones. This is common compared to a lot of industries. So for Daistruk, one of the critical success factors, if they ask, is maintaining relationship with the current customers, especially the one which is giving us good business. Existing customers are advocates for our products or services. So through their references, for example, we have Murdoch's and Malton Motors. They must be having other companies as their stakeholders. If they refer us, there is a chance we can get more new business. Most effective where switching costs are high. For example, banks and utilities. Through subscription model, they are making switching cost high. A regular customer may complain, altering us to problems. A long-term relationship is good for morale and motivation. In fact, for us, if we are going for market development, like we discussed last class also, if we get certain business from the current, like Malton Motors, current client, that can help us to expand in the market. Relationship marketing contracts with transaction marketing. So now businesses have moved more of relation market compared to transaction market. Why? Because if they have good CRM or customer relationship management, it's always better for them to retain the clients. And even if you see cost wise, existing customers are easy to retain than getting the new one. The cost of customer acquisition is high. In some marketing one. All these models you don't need to remember for the case study exams. This is just for understanding. CSR, I think CSR we have already discussed in P3 also. CSR is about business giving back to the society, corporate social responsibility. However, there is some debate going on. If you are paying tax, it is the government's responsibility to do that. Why companies need to do it? On the other hand, if companies do that, they'll have a goodwill in the market, and ultimately it will acquire good employees, good customers, good stakeholder relationship. So there are a lot of advantages, more advantages than disadvantages. However, in some countries like India, they have made a rule also to invest 2% into CSR. CSR is not only for the external people or the society, it can also be for your own employees, like employee welfare, working conditions. For us, we can do for our drivers, especially the big truck drivers. It's been a challenge globally for the logistic companies. Job design, interesting work-life balance or flexibility at work. External aspect, what we can do, environmental issues we can target. We can think about some product, reduce the risk of danger or harm. Markets and marketing, directly target based on browsing or purchasing histories. Fairness will do. Fair terms with the suppliers. Let's say there are many suppliers, so we'll not manipulate them for the lower price. Employment, maintain jobs in lean times. We can do something for the community. We can do for the human rights. Comply with tax legislation. Don't find always loopholes to reduce the tax or use transfer pricing. Disclose reliable and relevant information. Combat bribery. Bribery should not be promoted. Usually when companies going into new market, there is a chance that that new market is having good amount of bribery.
Mr. On doubt. Comply with tax legislation. Whether this is a part of CSR, it is a type of CSR.
Sorry?
Because it is our duty. Comply with tax legislation. It's our duty to comply.
Yes, it is our duty, but usually companies try to use transfer pricing and other means to reduce the tax, especially if they are having a parent company or they are an international company. So what they will do, they will show higher profit in the areas where the tax is lowest. Maybe they have not earned that profit from that country, but they will show more profit in the area of lower taxation and higher profit in the area of less taxation. Where the tax is high, profit will be low. Where the tax is low, profit will be high.
And the next point also, disclose reliable and relevant information. That is a part of integrated reporting. Why it is a part of CSR?
Sometimes management can be fishy. For example, if there is mergers and acquisition happening, they know redundancies will happen. So people are afraid. So they will lie to them. Okay. or sometimes they don't give actual information to the suppliers also.
Okay.
It should be honest with dealing.
Honesty.
Okay, can you give certain points, any one of you or few of you actually, what CSR practice we should follow out of this, or if you have anything other than this for Daistruk?
I think from the supplier perspective, we should not deal with those suppliers which are basically not following the CSR, or they have a low CSR ratings. For example, a supplier which is basically paying low wages, or hiring a labor worker which is below underage. So we should not work with these kind of suppliers. Then I think human rights also needs to be followed because it's a labor intensive industry, like logistics industry. So we should not hire anybody who is, like, let's say, below 18 years old or something, so that the labor laws are complied, and we make sure that um, there is no such negative reputation about the company. Then we should also make certain policies, like especially the purchasing policies, that the gifts, or like the freebies which has been given by the suppliers or by the customer should not be accepted, or it has to be in a very reasonable amount. If it is a big amount, then either it should not be accepted by the employees, because it might be leading to a conflict of interest for the company, and they can influence your decisions, right? So these kind of things can be a part of it. Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, Wafar, that makes sense.
And also we can do something about environment, the reduce the carbon emissions, make all the steps to reduce the carbon emissions. If we have any old vehicle in fleet, which is causing a lot of carbon emissions or damaging to the environment, probably we can try replacing them. Or so these kind of small things can also help us contributing towards CSR.
Right.
We can take the initiative of planting trees or some like that. Nowadays every company is doing that. They have some set up their objective of planting tree annually around, so we can take that initiative.
And for the community development, because we are in the transport industry and we are always on the road, so we can have some workshop with the local traffic authorities to educate people for the traffic rules and the importance of the traffic rules, etc. Like that, we can do that in the community for the development of the community.
And also, I think the packaging material, because this involves a lot of packaging stuff as well, right? The packaging material which we use, instead of throwing them in the basket or disposing it off, we rather make sure we give it back for recycling, so it can be reused. So this will bring a positive message that the wastage which is coming out of the, let's say, warehouse or while moving the goods, are not being thrown away, but rather it has been recycled.
Right.
And then we can do other small stuff like moving digital, reducing paper wastage and all the stuff, which normally happens. But that is like a long-term solution. It's for a short period of time. I think these 3-4 things can help us.
What
point.
about something like recycling of the tires? We have so many vehicles and trucks. I've seen where they make furniture with old tires. I've seen where they use it in playgrounds. I've also seen, I actually think it was India that use recycled, or they use tires in making roads. So that would help our sustainability agenda. It would help the community by providing, these kind of things.
Good point.
We could,
Either we can do it or we can tie up with some of the other companies who is already doing it by helping them in any way.
yes.
Yes, we can develop some customer, or we can develop some other company, because in the community we have the for CSR we should have created the more suppliers and the more develop more suppliers and the customers. So in this way we can encourage one more industry for the recycling that could help us, because most of these tires are burned, or they are on the roads. There might be the accident because of these wastage tires. So we can develop one supplier in just for a second. This in Saudi Arabia. Now Aramco, this is the major oil company, national oil company. They are encouraging the big companies to develop new suppliers and new customers here in Saudi Arabia. So this will help the local industry also. In our case, in the Daistruk, this will help the local industry, and this will explore one more industry here in the around land.
Right. In fact, we can start tire recycling. We'll do it for our own business and we can do for other people as well as under CSR. So that will be
Yes.
Yes, Swapal.
No, I'm just thinking because as Azim was discussing, we have a similar thing in UAE. Like, for example, they have a scoring. Like, for example, I think in Saudi it is Activa and here it is ICV. So basically, what
Yes, it's
happens
ICV.
is exactly. So basically, what happens is any local company. Let's say if I am running a company, they would always prefer to have a local suppliers here, and that will give you higher weightage. Probably we can introduce something like a scorecard or a scoring method. What will happen is that any supplier which is going to participate with us for any kind of a business, right? They will get a business if they have a localization factor in it. Plus they have certain parameters for corporate social responsibility, because I think this is a very hot topic with all the climatal changes and the issues which is happening around the globe, right? So probably this is something which we can do, like introduce some kind of a scorecard or a metrics which allows us to vet some suppliers.
All right. The sustainability, environmental things is more important because this is where we are harming the environment in a way. If you do CSR under that, automatically our reputation will be safeguarded. And ultimately, organization should work on triple bottom line: profit, people, and planet. Planet is what we discussed just now under CSR. Other people also we can target under CSR things. Educating them, giving employments, training them, internship opportunities, or building infrastructure for them.
Ms. Vice, we will sum it up. This triple bottom line means now ESG, environment, social governance. All these three covered in the people, profit, and planet are covered in environmental, social, and governance reporting. And the companies, they require the ESG score now from their suppliers.
Yes. We have discussed this in F3 also in integrated reporting. So all of this are coming from this section only. Okay. Most of things are repeated here. Then generating strategic options. While we are generating strategy option, we should consider the governance and the ethics. Governance is again repeated of corporate governance, what we did in P3, and also they are talking about we should be ethical in our strategy. Again, we should not take undue benefit from any stakeholder, and we should not compromise our principle or values just for getting the contract or getting in the new clients, all of this. Same thing, repeat. Like leadership should be different for chair and CEO. There should be effectiveness of the board, accountability, remuneration. Accountability will be there. Remuneration committee will be there. Relationship with the shareholder. So we can just skip this. I hope all of you are clear. Anybody has confusion, they can ask. It's all repeated. Same code of ethics. Okay. In ethics question, if they ask you which code of ethic is kind of breach, or what do you think about it, it's not necessary you have to talk about all 5. Maybe out of 5 only 2 or 3 have been breached in that situation. Usually integrity is there. Then after that it can be professional behavior or maybe objectivity. You don't need to talk about all 5. If in that situation there is only 3, then talk about only 3. Then
Vispa, what are the safeguards?
safeguards are kind of if there is an ethical dilemma, conflict. Sometimes what happens, the management itself pressurize the employees to be ethical. So what to do in that situation there are saying.
Okay.
Internal external safeguards they have done. Organization reporting guidelines, fostering an ethical open culture, tone from the top. So all this should be set from the board of directors, like whistleblowing should be there, disciplinary procedure should be there, internal audit department should be there. Like that.
Yeah, okay, understood. I remember that now.
Yeah. Then purpose, vision and values and impact on strategy. So usually we talk about mission and vision. What is our mission and vision? What is Daistruk mission and
To get things done, and vision I don't remember, but it was a long one.
Vision is to create a positive impact on all stakeholders through the sustainable supply chain and service.
right? So mission is about getting things done, which is very vague. Usually mission is something which is guiding us, but in this case it is not very clear. Next is vision. Vision is a long-term target. Once it is achieved, we can change the vision. So our vision is to have positive impact on all stakeholders through the provision of sustainable supply chain strategies and services. So basically, we are not prioritizing only one shareholder, that are one of the stakeholders, that is owners, shareholders, but all stakeholders. We want to have a positive impact. This will include internal stakeholder, connected stakeholder, and external stakeholders. And the provision of sustainable supply chain strategies and services. So we again want environmental friendly. Sustainable is what? It should not affect the future needs. That is the vision. Then values, if I just recall, Daistruk core values are: first is passionate about providing excellent service. It can be good service, it can be better service, but excellent is a strong word. That means we are not ready to compromise on our quality. Please remember this. When you go into a new country also, let's say things are, you want to reduce the prices because the competition is very high, but still you cannot compromise on your values. You cannot reduce the service. Service should be an excellent service. Daistruk delivers excellent service at all the times. Again, same thing. Daistruk act with integrity in dealing with its stakeholders. So this is the answer to Simanchal's question. You are asking why they are asking, being honest, because companies many times they are not honest. Even they lie with the banks. They different stakeholders, they tell different stories. Then Daistruk trust and respect its employees and provide a safe working environment. Especially in warehouses, there is a high chance of accidents, isn't it? And why values is important? Because we cannot compromise on this. Let's say even if it is affecting our profit or other things, value should not be compromised. What mission statement is and all, they are talking about basic, it's fine, we can ignore it. Developing option. when we are developing option for the strategy, let's say they ask you a question, what kind of strategy we should follow? Again, we can link this to resource-based strategy. So for that, we need to firstly audit our own resources. What is our strength? What is our weakness? For example, what tangible, intangible resources we have, what core competencies we have, what products, trademarks, and brands we use, what is operating system, stakeholder relationship, returns on shareholders. Then we can even talk about our website, our application, our data, or long-term contracts. All of this is what? This is our asset. This is our current position. Based on that, we can see how we can prioritize resource-based strategy. What is strategy capability? The ability to perform at a level that achieves objectives and fulfill the mission of the organization. There are some other framework also, AMS model, like manpower, money, management, machinery, market. All of this again make up the resources of the company. You don't need to remember this. Competencies. There are two types of competencies we have: threshold competencies and core competencies. Threshold competencies like order qualifier, basics, must have. But core competency is what actually which gives us the edge, which is order winner, we can say. Is known as unique resources or core competence. Like they have given Apple's design capability, BMW engineering. For us, it can be our excellent service what we are providing. For other airline companies, it can be landing slot at Heathrow Airport, radio operating license, things like that. Another concept is foresight. When business is looking for the future, they obviously want to have some idea how it can be done. Or secondly, they want to kind of evolve for the future. So they can do a foresight. Foresight has been described as the art and science of anticipating the future. So basically, when future comes, it depends on a lot of things. Maybe pestle issues is also there. Then what some companies are doing, disruption, that can also come in. And what is our strength and weakness, that will also affect. So for foresight, they have talked about 5 C's here actually. It can come from communication with the stakeholders, concentration on the long term, coordination with the team, consensus also, then commitment to making results of research lead to action. Let's say we imagine 5 years down the line there or 10 years, there won't be no vehicle other than electric. Then we have to see what we'll do with the current fleet and how we are achieving that target, things like that. It's a very strong line here. Any company that can't imagine the future is increasingly unlikely to be around to enjoy it. So basically, if we are not able to imagine the future, that means business should collapse, will not be around, will not survive itself. Forget about being one of the best. When we talk about risk management, these strategies can also be related to that. Forecasting, foresighting, all of this. Next is forecast. Here we use more of data, especially previous data. Time series analysis, regression analysis and all. Trend analysis is also one of those. Next is another technique is Delphi method. The Delphi method, brainstorming, all of this are like when you get experts who come up and try to see what can be the future of this particular industry. And if they agree with it, companies can put some resources or R&D into that. Something similar to scenario plan. Scenario planning or scenario planning. Here also we are trying to see what can be the future of the industry. How you see logistic company in 10 years, 20 years. When we talk about last mile, there is a lot of assumption being made that this goods will be delivered through Through what? Through airways, right? This small what do we call it? Robots are also there, and through small flying machines, not flying machines actually,
Drones.
drones. Yeah, it's not exactly like drone, but it's little bit bigger, and like the design are different. So drones have been scenario planned or assumed for the last mile. But what about the one which we are doing, the longer one? Let's say 1,000 mile and all. Can we use drones also in that, the bigger ones? But if you use that, it might go to helicopter in a better way. Again, it will be more costly and again fuel consuming. Approach define scope of activity and time scale region products. Identify key stakeholders. Identify main trends. Advantage they have given. Vision. This involves seeing an image of future which may be vague or out of focus. For example, being the best in the world. We have also one of the vision. Based on that, we can plan also. Especially companies who disrupt the market or who are market leaders or industry leader, I would say. They do visioning and work according to that. Very risky approach, but once they are successful, they can have the highest market share. Then morphological analysis, the next term. Here they are looking at different things or at a broader level. Systematic investigation of all components at the large scale. For example, through pestle, they are coming to logical industries, logistic industries. How society will be in the future, how economic situation will be there, how infrastructure will be there. Relevance is also there. Next is game theory. Game theory is also known as prisoner's dilemma. So here it's like, if we do something, what about our competition? We'll try to get an idea what competitors are doing. Therefore, usually in the preaching, they give competitors details also. Very important to know what our immediate competition is doing. Otherwise, if both are just reducing price, then both will be losing it. Yeah. Now this is important for you, real option. Whenever they ask you a suggestion or recommendation, in fact, I tell students to recommend even if they don't ask, you have three options. First option is to say, yes, we should go with the project. That is follow up. Next is, no, we don't agree with it. We should abandon the project. But there is third recommendation also you can make in your answer is delay the project. The project will be more profitable if it doesn't start immediately. Or you can just say delay the project to get more details. Then decide to follow on or abandon. So when you're recommending upon certain acquisition or certain things, you have three options to accept it, reject it, or delay it. Make sense? Remember this. Next is strategic choices. So Porter's talk about that every business to get a competitive advantage should divide into three sections. One is cost leader, differentiator, and focus. Cost leader is usually working in on bulk and giving the service or product at a lower price. Lower price doesn't mean cheap in quality, but cheap in price. For example, gaining competitive advantage by producing the lowest cost. Best example is Chinese product we can take up. And usually they work on bulk and achieve economies of scale. Next is differentiation. Usually it is expensive and it will have a higher quality or sometimes just higher perceived value. Maybe because of branding, or maybe they have a lot of marketing with the celebrities. It is, or it just appear to be different in something that the customer value. It can be as simple as packaging. allows companies to focus on the value that generates comparatively higher price and better margin. So here customers are not just working on the price. They are happy to pay extra, assuming they get something extra value on that. To be differentiated, the firm should probably have strong R&D. Usually, companies every year, for example, Apple, every year they have to launch new and show why it is expensive. What is the extra value it is bringing in? So strong R&D is required. Strong engineering skill, creativity skill, marketing skill. A lot of extra thing is required compared to cost leader. That's the challenge in differentiate. Whereas in cost leader, the challenge is about the cost. Let's say material prices goes up or fuel prices goes up, it's difficult for them to increase the prices. Third option is focus, or sometimes it can be a niche. Focus can be on cost leader also, differentiator also. They're targeting a very small market, niche approach. However, a lot of companies want to be cost leader also and give good quality, but the problem is they can get stuck in the middle. Like Mark and Spencer clothes appear to have stuck in the middle. One of the clothing brand they are talking about. If they're stuck in the middle, they will not get cost leader customers also, differentiator customer also. So getting into one category is important. Then Ansoff matrix we have already discussed in P3. If any confusion, anyone, you can stop me, okay? Otherwise, no need to go through it again. It's quite easy only. Then they have talked about industry life cycle, introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. Development and checkout usually they don't use. Only introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. Every product or even every business also goes through this. When they are into maturity,
Where are we standing right now? Maturity, I think.
Yeah, we are into matured. Our industry is also matured. Our business is also matured.
So does it mean that if we will not expand or go into a new market, we might go for a decline phase?
Yes, we have to keep on. I assume we are a differentiator. We have to keep on getting new ways to give value to the stakeholders and come up with the new services what we can provide.
Okay.
Even if you are into maturity, not all our services are in maturity, or not all is giving us same return. So basically, if you are getting more business from this FMCG company, so there we can invest more compared to automobiles like that. So within that also we have to see. Then BCG metrics they are talking about. It's more of a companies who have lot of products and mostly suitable for, again, product based companies. So they will be launching products like Unilever Limited, Nestle, this kind of companies. They will have product in question mark, then it will go to star, cash cow, and dog. This can also be linked to the previous one. This is introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. So no product can be in maturity or cash cow forever. So they have to keep launching a lot of products in question mark. So at least some of them reaches cash cow. And cash cow will fund all these products in question mark again. Okay, one thing is important here. I think we have discussed already. If some of you have doubts, we can discuss again. Method of strategy. Either we should go with internal development, also known as organic, or through acquisition or merger. And the third option is we neither acquire it, neither do it on our own, just do a partnership. That is strategic alliance, joint venture, strategic alliance, licensing, franchising. We have discussed this in P3 again. Anybody has confusion with this? Yes, no?
No.
Okay.
No.
That was quite logical. This points also we have discussed causes of failure. The failure causes are common for all of this, even in mergers, even in partnership, even in strategic alliance. Failure to understand and adapt new style of management, failure to learn and understand cultural differences, lack of commitment, strategic goal, insufficient trust, operational and geographical overlap, unrealistic expectations from each other. Especially in, when they are in a partnership, there will be unrealistic expectations. Now, if you want to be successful, they have given again some points. Passion to create value in all sense, understanding of different perspective, transfer skill, build relationship, take risk, share knowledge, handle conflict, focus both on delivery and on building relationship. Delivery to the clients, customers, and building relationship internally. Then the same thing, joint venture franchising they are talking about. For us, obviously, franchising is not relevant. Maybe joint venture if you are going into a new country. This is also a good option. Usually companies, when they want to acquire certain companies or merger, they do a joint venture to understand how it works. They're happy, then they go for a merger or acquisition. Advantage is similar. Divestment. Now value chain analysis. Again, it is more of important of product-based companies. Primary and support activities, inbound, outbound. Can ignore it here. Next is strategic control. So basically, strategic control means first we'll measure the performance. How to measure the performance? Let's say we have made a strategy in chapter 1. We talk about different types of strategy. So are we achieving it or not? So on regular intervals, there should be performance measurement that is used to statistical evidence to determine progress towards specific objectives. Are we progressing or not? For example, now we are preparing for exams. We have done P3, risk management, we have finished, or E3. So we can do assessment on one and see what is our performance. The basic example. The main purpose is help determine progress. Are we going to achieve it or not? Firstly, if everything is failing, we can even say the target itself was not practical. Decide when corrective action is needed. Set expectations between employer and employees. Provide yardstick for performance. Get an idea what is expected from them. Measurement system depends on the environment, the strategy, the business types, all of this. One approach doesn't fit all. Usually for performance measurement, if they ask you or performance management, best thing is you can talk about is balanced scorecard. In textbook, they'll give a lot of things, but you just focus on one. Okay. CSF are the things which we must be right to achieve the objectives, like product quality, delivery time. For us, it will be delivery time, brand awareness, positive staff attitude, cost control. These are very common for the industries. What you can do is, in fact, I have shared one of the material with you guys. In that, CSF and KPI is also there. Please make a list of CSF and KPI for Daistruk. Make 4 to 5 CSF and what KPIs we should give it for that. Getting the point? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And if they ask you about performance measurement, especially for all of those, you can just move to balance scorecard. Performance measurement means directly balance scorecard, because this is best. It talks about financial perspective, internal, customer, innovation, learning and growth, everything. So current things have been taken care, internal stakeholders have been taken care, and future also has been taken care. If you have good learning and growth, better internal process, better customer satisfaction, ultimately what will happen? We'll achieve our bottom line, financial objective. We have other one also, this performance measurement, but I would just request you to ignore this for now, because they won't ask you to use this particular one. They ask any performance measurement. Some of you forget balance scorecard also. You can just say financial and non-financial and start explaining it. That's also fine. It's a little bit complex, but if you are comfortable, you can use this also too. Okay. Benchmarking can be also one way of performance measurement or management. Benchmarking the internal competitor and processor active. Gap analysis. Divisional performance measurement, return on investment, residual income. Basically, ratios can also be used to do that. Economic value added limitations, this you can ignore, not required. Communication of performance target is also important, because if the team doesn't know based on what points they will be measuring the performance, they will not work hard on this. So communication always, let's say any issue happen, they talk about internal audit, they talk about cyber security, they talk about fraud. Whenever they ask you a control, you can use the first control is better communication, because communication is solution of most of the problem. Integrate reporting we have discussed in F3, the capitals. Only capitals is important in this. Building block model, again you can ignore this. Strategy, ma'am, lot of things. Anyways, so we have change management and digital strategy left, last two sections. This we'll do tomorrow. Okay, so the plan is for tomorrow we'll finish this E3, and Sunday we'll do one mock as in we'll go through one mock and I'll explain how to read the questions, how to structure the answers, all of this. Okay, and over the week I'll give you industry analysis also to read, and next week we can even discuss industry analysis in the class. If you have any questions now, we can discuss.